Alright, so what's up, guys? So we're out here on another run, out here doing what we do best, right? Running out here for all of you guys to simply sit back, watch, enjoy, right? Don't quit. And you know, specifically you want to think about your exercise. Hello, what are we doing out here? And you know, for you, don't worry, because we are going to give you 4 tips to not quit on your exercise. Hey, keep it going, keep it moving, so that way you can see some awesome gains right within your physical body, and probably also mental as well, because exercise, I would say, is just as much of a mental battle as it is physical, right? So, you know, tip number 1, kind of mentioned that, is that recognizing that exercise is a mental battle, right? Knowing that is going to help you within it, right? Because a lot, you know, the pushing of the, you know, resistance to the quitting is all in your head. And, you know, different people have different tactics to deal with it. Some use harder approaches. And now to explain that, in order to get over, you know, the temptation to quit, the harder approach would be to call yourself, you know, I would call myself names, right? Soft, quitter, loser. But if I see myself start, you know, to sag off, right? Almost trying to anger myself and push myself and remind me of what would happen if I quit, right? Almost a fear-based, you know, method. And, you know, there's times where that works for me. And for many people, it's their method of choice in order to stay on path and keep going, right? And for others, they may want to choose a softer approach, more kind, I would say, right? Call themselves, you know, affectionately, and, you know, feel great about themselves, right? And treat themselves like they would treat their best lover, right? Even, you know, with me, sometimes when I tried this method, I would call myself, you know, baby or babe, or, you know, the awesomest person in the world, right? Because I truly want to feel that way, because I know if I do feel great about myself, I will do my best out there, right? And, you know, it's not coming from a place of particular narcissism, or although you want to draw some conclusions as that may be the case, but whatever works for you right in that moment of working out. But you got to realize that in order to get the maximum output, you can't be, you know, looking down upon yourself, feeling shame, remorse, regret, right? Because the winners are confident, right? They have high self-esteem. They trust themselves, right? Just like they would trust, you know, the person that they love the most in this world, right? Their partner, their soulmate. And there's times where, you know, treating yourself as your best soulmate is only going to make your workouts better. And I would say, you know, other aspects of life, right? Having that confidence to, you know, keep going, right? And not quit. So I would even say, I remember a particular study of sports science where they had, you know, an individual shooting free throws, and, you know, they tested the theory of the harsh coaching versus the nicer approach. And, you know, what they found was, essentially, if we can explain a little bit more, one coach would try in a huddle before the free throws, series of 10 free throws, you know, to yell at and belittle the free throw shooter, right? Get him angry and wanting to prove himself to the coach, right? But then another coach, wanted the player to do well by being nice to them, reaffirming them, telling them how great they were. And essentially what happened is that I believe the harsher coach was actually the more successful one for the male free throw shooter. And then for the female free throw shooter, the nicer one, calmer, reassuring one was the more effective one. But essentially what it boils down to is figuring out what works for you. Right? We're all different people, and I would say at different times and stages of life, different methods work for you. So, and what you got to remember too, and this is tip number 2, regards to not giving up, like figuring out ways to not quit, in particular in fitness, is to realize that you are your own coach, that you are at the helm of your fitness, right? To put the responsibility, direct one at least, on someone else is foolish, right? Because you can have whichever coach, right? Mike Ditka, if you're a football player, Eric Spoelstra, if you're a basketball player, Greg Popovich, right? Great names. And they can be your coach, right? Show you how to play the game and motivate you. But it boils down, to you, getting yourself up to play, moving the muscles, thinking the thoughts, right? You have a bigger responsibility than those quote unquote coaches. So I would say that you are your own coach, and because when it's fourth quarter and your team is down and you're tired and you have the tendency to want to quit and ask to sit on the bench, it's ultimately you that has to push yourself to get there, right? Just like with the run, you're running a full 26-mile marathon and you're on mile 23 and 24, right? And it seems so hard, but you just have to remind yourself that it's a measly 2-3 miles before you finish, right? Remind yourself that how can you run, this 22-23 miles, without, finishing it, right? Just to fall short, right? Having that reminder is going to push you to keep going, to not quit, and essentially get to where you want to go. But another way, tip number 3, particular to not quit in life, right? Such a big, crucial skill is to remember your progress, right? To know yourself, know what you are capable of, because essentially when we quit an exercise is through our mind lying to us, right? Making us think that we're not ready to run 10 miles, right? When in fact, we recently just ran a half marathon, right? A 13-mile race. How foolish would it be to doubt yourself and being able to finish the 10 miles when you in fact just ran 13 about a couple weeks ago, right? Sounds crazy, but this is a daily occurrence to many people in their minds. It's just playing a trick on them, right? In order to get around that trick, they gotta remember their progress, right? To know themselves and what they are capable of, right? Because essentially, knowing those features, knowing what people have done before, they're simply able to replicate it, right? They have that confidence within themselves, knowing what they're capable of doing, and they will get there, right? So by doing that, you'll be on your way. But tip number 4, in order to not quit, is to have the training to back you up, right? There's a reason why, players like Stephen Curry would go in and shoot hundreds of free throws over and over and over and over and over again in practice pretty much every day before they would step into an arena, especially, right? And that was because they knew, you know, that it was so important for the game, right? The game relied upon them replicating their same motions, right? And they had to do it over and over again, so that way their training will back them up when they come to the game, right? When it comes time to actually apply these methods, right? So for you, in order to perform when you're asked to do so, right? When you're asked to run the race, perform the competition, you have to train, and train some more, right? Because for many, the best, I'd say, athletes are the ones that have done it already in training. So when they're asked to do it, you know, in a show or on a stage, it's essentially the same thing they've been doing in training, right? They won't quit, right? Because they've been there and done that, right? You want to be that person, right? It only becomes a matter of replicating what you've done before, and you will find yourself not quitting. So these are the 4 tips in order to not quit exercises. Say thank you very much and goodbye.